Aaron Rodgers is just too successful for his own good. It's caused so many people from around the world to come out and hate on the success he's had in the NFL. But why? Stick around till the end of the video to find out the biggest reason why fans just can't stand Rodgers' success. Contracts. Unfortunately, Aaron Rodgers is too good to avoid criticism. In fact, he's become such a legendary player on the gridiron that people can't help but go after him due to the amount of success that he's had. Probably the largest reason for the hate that he's gotten has been with the contracts that he's taken on. Many people have always jumped to Aaron Rodgers' aid when it comes to the Green Bay Packers not being able to win consistently with him at quarterback. And by winning, I mean going all the way and winning more than just one Super Bowl. After all, a player of his caliber deserves to be getting a solid team built around him with all that he's done for the city. However, many people don't like that train of thought because Rodgers has consistently taken large contracts. He's certainly deserving the money that he's been awarded over the years, but people feel like he should be taking pay cuts in order to better help the team build. The biggest example of this has been Tom Brady, who has usually always had a contending team around him while being the best quarterback of all time. That's usually because he's taking small contracts relative to other players at the quarterback position. I would say that the contracts he's taken over the years has brought out even more haters against him. They don't appreciate that he willingly accepted that much money without thinking of the rest of the team and believe that he's holding the organization accountable for leaving the team with no money before blaming them about their roster. You don't see this argument with anybody else except for Rodgers, a guy that hasn't had a first-round rookie wide receiver in basically his entire career. Meanwhile, players like Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen got unbelievably large contracts with a plethora of top-tier receivers on top of that. COVID-19 vaccination.
There's guys on the team that haven't been vaccinated. I think it's a personal decision. I'm not going to judge those guys.
The next and most recent reason for the hatred towards Aaron Rodgers came off the field with his stance on COVID-19. Rodgers was one of the biggest faces who openly stated that they would not be taking the COVID-19 vaccine for his own personal health reasons. Rodgers also spoke up about the regulations and restrictions the league was putting on the players that were opting to shy away from the mandated vaccination. He said, "Some of the rules are not based in science at all. They're based purely in trying to out and shame people. Personal health decisions should be private. The shaming and the outing, everyone has their own story. This shaming cancel society, that is wrong." Later on, some reports claim that he tried to appeal to the league with 500 pages of research. The NFL didn't care much for what he had to say and forced him to sit out a game when he contracted the virus, something that once again broke national headlines. People believe he lied about his vaccination status because he said that he recently underwent his own treatments and protocols in the hopes that he could stimulate my own system to create a defense against COVID. He made his own research and spoke as if he took the vaccine, or, well, that's what everybody assumed. When he tested positive for it and missed the game against the Kansas City Chiefs, many thought he was misleading audiences and being selfish to the other players on the team for refusing to take the shot. The situation dragged on for quite some time, and to this day his own personal health stance has rubbed tons of people the wrong way. People that now hate his every move and hope that he doesn't succeed at the level he's accustomed to. Dislike Rodgers due to jealousy. Another reason why people hate the success Aaron Rodgers has been because he's too good. This might sound a little too simple, but people feel that he's too good to not be a horrible person off the field. A lot of this comes from assumptions that he's an awful teammate, that he's the type of guy to not give a damn about the players and teammates around him. However, that couldn't be further from the truth. This guy loves seeing his teammates succeed, and the biggest example of that is right now with the rookie wide receiver Christian Watson. Rodgers has spoken up about Watson all season long as he's developed into the player that he's turning into in front of our very eyes. This still hasn't turned people away from claiming that people only put up with Rodgers because he's such a good quarterback. That if he wasn't a generational talent, he would be out of a job because of his selfishness. Some of these claims might also come from the COVID fiasco, but Others came well before that situation. One of them being when he wanted to hold out from minicamp for a little bit as he awaited either a new contract or a trade from the organization to chase a championship elsewhere. It's hard to dump all of these selfish claims on Rodgers. After all, a variety of NFL superstars have done this exact same thing over the past few years and are hardly met with the same nepotism surrounding the move compared to Aaron. That's just what happens when you turn yourself into one of the best players at your position for over a decade. Dominance over the Bears. We also can't forget about his dominance, particularly when it comes to playing the Chicago Bears. Bears fans have hated him for over a decade, only because they have watched their team lose to this man countless times over the years. Don't believe us? Well, let's back that up with some numbers. The Bears led the all-time series against the Packers with a record of 90, 79, and 6 when Rodgers first became the starting quarterback of the Packers. Fast forward to this point in time, and that record is now flipped over to the Packers, leading at 103, 95, and 6. Rodgers has won 23 out of his 28 games against the Bears over the course of his career. Though you can increase both of these up by 1 due to Rodgers beating them again this past weekend. I think you can already start to see why Chicago fans in particular still aren't fond of the signal caller. Rodgers was also seen yelling, "I've owned you all my bleeping life. I still own you," during one of the team's many victories against their division rivals. It's currently the third highest winning percentage by a single quarterback against a team with at least 25 starts against them head-to-head. For Chicago fans, they are counting the days for Rodgers to either leave the division or let them win a game for once. They might be waiting a little while longer. He hasn't won enough. Then finally, people hate Rodgers because he hasn't won anymore. Yes, when you are this talented and this successful, fans will come out to attack you for not doing enough. Rodgers has made it to the conference championship game a handful of times over the past few years, but just can't seem to get over that hump. Obviously, this lands on more than just his shoulders, but he gets most of the blame for their losses, just as he claims most of the positives. Rodgers does have a Super Bowl under his belt and multiple MVP awards, but the organization just wants more Super Bowls to their name. I mean, when you're blessed with a quarterback talent like Rodgers for over 10 years, you expect to win more than just one championship. That's unfortunately not the case right now for the Packers, and it's not looking likely that he can win another one in Green Bay before he retires. Still, though, to hate him for not getting more is simply ignoring everything else that has gone on around the league. The circumstances that forced him out of the playoffs and forced his team to stumble. He should have multiple Super Bowls. Winning one is just not as easy as it sounds, even with a quarterback like Rodgers carrying a team for over 10 years. That's going to end it for this video on the reason for the hate on Aaron Rodgers' historic success in the NFL. Let us know down below if you think that this hatred on Rodgers is warranted after everything that's been going on, or if you feel like people take things way too far just because he's too good.